Hello, thanks for tuning in. It's Stuart, the Unrepentant Atheist, and I've been making a few changes on my channel. One announcement I'd like to make is that I will no longer be featuring any content whatsoever from the line or the atheist experience on this channel. I've seen the limitations in it. I suppose I've grown a bit bored with it, and I think that it's time to sort of move on. So what I'm going to be doing on this channel is making probably one video a week, maybe two, and just commenting on atheism, counter-apologetics, apologetics, how I see religion and the effect it has on the world, commentary on the reasons that people believe in religions, and a general examination of religious claims. Now in this video, excuse me, I'm going to be talking about the claim that atheists have got faith. Yeah, I find that an interesting claim, and rather than just dismissing it, it's worth actually considering. Excuse me, it's a morning here in the UK, so I decided to make this video, and I'm just having a coffee. Now, atheists have got faith. Let's think first. Where does this claim come from? I mean, is it like a general claim that you would hear in the streets perhaps? Probably not. I've generally heard the claim atheists have got faith from religious people, from Christians. It's like a kind of an accusation, you know, like, well, you too. What about you? Yeah, because atheists are saying that faith is not a reliable guide to truth. Well, be pretty ironic if atheists actually live by faith, wouldn't it? And I think that's where this is coming from. It's like the pot calling the kettle black, as the saying goes. Yeah, I absolutely get that. And for years, I've pushed back against this. No, atheists haven't got faith. We've got confidence, etc., etc., etc. And I've thought more about it. I've read the claims. And I've gone into some considerable thought myself about this issue. I suppose, first of all, we've got to think, well, what is faith? There are different kinds of faith. You can say, well, I've got faith in my partner, that she won't cheat on me. That's not really the same kind of faith as having faith that there's an all-powerful supernatural being that created everything and that cares about whether you believe in that being or not. To the extent that when you die, if you don't believe in that being, you could face eternal punishment. That's a different kind of faith, I would think, than having faith that your partner's not cheating on you. Okay, so we can call that confidence, I suppose, or trust, but it's not really when you've got faith that something exists. That's a different kind of faith compared with having faith in a tool. You know, I've got a pair of scissors here and I've got faith. I've got a belief, I've got a confidence, faith, you can call it faith if you want, that these scissors work. Actually, they don't really work that well because, I mean, this is just digressing just for the sheer amusement of it. I bought these recently because I lost my regular scissors and I bought them thinking, great, I found some scissors. And I find that I've got quite thin fingers. I haven't got workman's fingers. And they've made these so that you can't really get your fingers through them. It's unbelievable. I don't know where they made these. They must have made these where people have got really thin fingers. But anyway, that's digressing. Yeah, so having faith in a tool, that a tool is going to do a good job, that's a different kind of faith because, of course, if you've used the tool and if you've seen that it does a good job, your faith in how efficient that tool is going to be based on something. It's going to be based on past experience, for example. I mean, it might just be based on observation. So when I saw this pair of scissors in the shop, I had a strong level of faith that they would work. And indeed they do work, although I've pointed out there's a problem with them. And my faith is justified because I could see from the design of the scissors that they were going to work. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent money on them. That's a different kind of faith compared with faith in the existence of something which is not immediately apparent from any kind of demonstrable evidence. That's the difference. In fact, I would say that having faith in the existence of something is an entirely different kind of faith compared with almost the faith in anything else. Because whatever example you want to give about what you've got faith in, usually it's something that exists. So yeah, like the scissors exist. If I've got one, my wife exists. I can demand. This is not the question. The question is not whether something exists. It's whether you're justified in having faith in it. But having faith that something actually exists is a different kind of faith entirely from any other kind of faith. So yeah, the thing is, atheists have got the same kind of, faith that religious people have got. Everyday faith in things that demonstrably exist, or in somebody's qualities, for example. But the person at least exists. We don't have to have faith that somebody exists, unless you want to go down the route of hard solipsism and say, well, we can't really know anything. We can't be sure that this is all real. We may be in a simulation, or I can only be sure that I exist, or that my own thoughts exist. I can't be sure in it. Yeah, I mean, we can go down that route. But if we're going to have a conversation, we're going to have to presuppose something as a matter of necessity. And if you're not going to presuppose that we all exist in the same world, then we can't really have a conversation. So let's accept that, let's have that as a presumption, a presupposition that existence is real. You're real, I'm real as well. You're listening to this video and I made this video. That's all real. But what we're really trying to find out is within that presumed reality, that whether you're justified in having faith, belief that there's something else beyond it. In other words, a God, for example. So yeah, there's everyday, I'm trying to draw a distinction between justified everyday faith and religious faith in the supernatural. That's the point. Yes, atheists have got faith. Now let's look at it another way, that atheists don't believe in gods, or atheists don't believe, that's the point. I also don't believe in anything supernatural. Okay, but let's just restrict it to atheists don't believe in any kind of gods. That's really what an atheist is in the base sense. Let's say in the base sense, because there are people who believe and assert that if you're an atheist, you're 100% certain that gods don't exist. Well, no. If you want that to be your definition, well, there's nothing that I can do about that. But generally speaking, that's not an accepted definition. And if you go to actual usage, very few people actually have that usage. It's understood that if somebody's an atheist, they just simply don't believe in God. I was at a service for somebody recently, somebody who passed on, and the minister actually said, Neil, this is the guy who died, he was an atheist. Yeah, I mean, what did she mean by that? I mean, this is down to usage. And we're talking about somebody who's not involved in apologetics, who is not a YouTube junkie going around atheist sites, leaving comments like, oh, you atheists have got faith as well. We're not talking about somebody like that. We're talking about not a fanatic, just an everyday church minister who is doing a service. And she said, Neil was an atheist. However, right? Okay. What did she mean by that? Neil's an atheist. Did she mean that Neil 100% did not believe in any God? He was a fanatic, that there was no God? I don't think she meant that. So I met the guy, Neil, not many times, and I spoke to him. We never talked about religion at all, but I got the impression from him that he was a fairly down-to-earth, practical kind of guy, and that just religion wasn't a thing for him. Now his wife was into shamanism and all that sort of thing, but she wasn't really she wasn't really a believer either. But nevertheless, this church service happened. I don't know how it happened, only that they got married in this particular church, and I don't know. But it was possibly thought that this would be an appropriate way to see him off. I don't think that he found God as such in his final moments, but he somehow let it be known that he wanted a service. But nevertheless, she said, oh yes, he was an atheist, but he became a bit more spiritual in his dying days. Yeah, I don't know whether he converted fully or not. That's not really the point. The point is, what did she mean by Neil was an atheist? What she meant was he had no belief in any God. That's all, just simple as that. He wasn't a believer. And you don't really have to say anything more about an atheist that, okay, he's not a believer, he doesn't believe in any God. You don't need to go on and add assumptions like he 100% doesn't believe, he 100% asserts that there is no God. You don't need to add anything to it. Okay, that being said, there's a case to be made for atheists having faith that there is no God. I accept that, because if you don't believe that there's something as major as a God, and you live your life like there is no God, there's a case to be made for saying, well, you actually actively believe that there are no gods. And my case is I not only don't believe in any gods, I actively believe that there are no gods and that religions are false, all of them. I actually believe that, not to 100-degree certainty. But if you want to say that that's my faith, I've got no problem with that. Now, who's the bigger fool? The person who asserts that Santa Claus exists, or the person who asserts that Santa Claus doesn't exist? Answer that question honestly to yourself. If you've got no evidence for the existence of a being, particularly an all-powerful being with extraordinary powers, if you've got no evidence for the existence of that thing, it's not that unreasonable to say that's made up, that's a fiction, there are no gods. I don't think it's that unreasonable to say that and claim it. Not to a degree of certainty, but yeah, I don't believe there are any gods. I'd almost go as to say is, you know something, I'm fairly convinced, not 100%, that there are no gods. And Christians will say to me, well, that's your faith. You're living by your faith. Okay, let's say that that's a faith-based position. And I suppose maybe it is. Maybe it is. But it's based on zero evidence for the proposition that there is a God, in the same way that there's zero evidence that there's a real Santa Claus that drops presents down chimneys. There's zero evidence for that. So you're not unwarranted in saying, well, there's no Santa Claus, that's just made up. In the same way, well, there are no gods, that's just made up by people who, wanted answers to why we're here, where did everything come from. If they'd had science from day one, where they had explanations for these things, maybe there wouldn't be religion now. But we are where we're at. So yeah, okay, let's say that that's my faith. There are no gods. I don't believe in any gods. Not only that, but I actively would say that there are no gods. Let's say that that's my faith. What do I need to do? Or how does that faith cost me in practical terms? I mean, if you believe in the resurrection, if you believe in the Immaculate Conception and all the miracles and everything else that goes with Christianity, what's the cost to you? How is it going to change your life? Well, if you really believe that, you're going to have to go to church once a week. You're going to have to contribute financially. You're probably going to pray every day. You're probably going to read your Bible. You're probably going to embrace a worldview that is in the Bible. You're probably, or possibly, if you're strictly going to adhere to this worldview, going to believe that homosexuality is a sin, for example. Maybe you'll believe that abortion is completely immoral. So what I'm saying is that the cost of faith in a religion is a hell of a lot more than the cost of faith that religions are all basically untrue. I feel in myself free to live the way that I want within the law and within certain moral limits. Yeah, I know the next question is going to be, where do you get those morals? Okay, I'm not going to deal with that now. So in my atheism, in my faith, if you want, I probably feel a lot more freedom. I don't have to take a religious book and try to discover the meaning of life within that book. I can just create my own meaning for life within my faith as an atheist that there are no gods. So yeah, I can concede that I've got faith in certain things. You can call them articles of faith if you want, in science, in logic, particularly. You can call that, if you want, an article of faith. I would say that that's a reasonable article of faith in those things. They're not. We don't know that logic is absolutely 100% inviolable. Of course, we presume that it is. It's a presupposition, and we know that science, properly applied, does work, and that science can correct science. We know that it's not 100% infallible, but it's been proven to be very reliable, properly used, and I think it's worth having faith in it. This is the thing. It's worth having faith in logic. It's worth having faith in science. I don't think it's worth having faith, frankly, in the existence of any supernatural beings. I get the argument from utility that, just like with Dumbo's lucky feather, religion can be useful in some respects. It can give you a kind of confidence. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely get that, and I suppose in that sense it is useful. But I think ultimately, particularly with Christianity, if you believe in an afterlife, I think that that could possibly be counterproductive. That's another issue, but on the whole, I think that having faith in no gods is actually a better way forward than having faith in a god. That's my point. But I can concede that atheists have got faith. And I just don't think that the kind of faith that atheists have got is unreasonable. But I do think the kind of faith that Christians, Muslims have got is unreasonable. And that's why I'm an atheist. Okay? All right, well, this has been a sort of unstructured ad-lib talk. I've raised a lot of issues, and I'll look forward to your comments. But yep, I suppose that I'm an atheist, and I've got faith that there are no gods. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.